Hi everyone, this is to let you know that our quarterly streaming video tracker covering Q2 changes is published. So our latest streaming viewer estimates and updated service profiles are ready for your review in the tracker portal. We continue to expand services we're estimating and added viewer estimates for 2 regional sports networks D2C offerings for the Yankees Yes Network and for MSG Plus. And in reviewing the updates this quarter, one trend I noticed was just how volatile this market is right now. We had several services shut down and phase out of the tracker, like Rooster Teeth, as well as Chicken Soup for the Soul entertainment properties, Redbox, Crackle, and Popcorn Flicks. And other services we've seen pause as they try to shore up operations or exit the market entirely. Services like VidGo, Eros Now, Club TQ, Local BTV, and DestinyImage.tv. Looking over the past 2 quarters, we're also seeing services that have decided to forego operations as standalone D2C streaming apps and instead merge with others or become channels or networks within a larger destination. So, for instance, Motor Trend Plus joining Discovery Plus, or ConTV Plus Comics joining Midnight Pulp, and also Topic joining MHZ Choice. So again, very volatile moment in the industry right now as services seek to turn a profit, and some deciding that D2C streaming apps are not sustainable modes of business for their content. As always, if you're a streaming video tracker subscriber, reach out to our team with any questions. And if you're interested in subscribing into the service, let us know. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our Future of Video series, and thank you for joining us today for our sessions on the state of streaming and the future of entertainment. We have an awesome lineup today and some great research data to set the stage for our speakers with JW Player and Snorvel. Before we get started, I would like to pause and thank our sponsors for making Future of Video possible. So thank you to Adia, JW Player, Bango, Symphony AI Media, and FPT Software. I also want to note that we will again host our in-person Future of Video event in Los Angeles, California, only a few months from now in November, and we look forward to seeing all of you there. I also want to take a brief moment to introduce myself. My name is Sarah Lee, and I am a research analyst here at Parks Associates, and I am so excited to talk to you today about the state of streaming and the future of entertainment. That being said, I've put together a few trends and topics that we'll see the market heading in, and I think we'll discuss in detail during this presentation. So I'll start off with a short discussion of the overall volatility within the streaming market today, touch on some price increases that may have happened this year, and some account sharing measures that are about to. I'll then move to some other trending patterns in the market, such as the rise of hybrid business models and some topics surrounding ad-based streaming, the resurgence of bundles, new partnerships in the sports realm, and growth opportunities with Spanish language television, before moving and ending with an example of how AI technology can be used in the entertainment space. So let's get right into it. First, I want to highlight that the streaming market continues to face increasing volatility, driven by intense competitive pressure among market players, as well as shifts in consumer behavior and spending. It is becoming more and more challenging for streaming providers to operate efficiently and profitably. For example, some players no longer even operate independent direct-to-consumer apps anymore. Instead, they move to a channel or add-on within a larger service. So think of something like a Showtime that operates only within Paramount Plus. Another example of this volatility is with the recent fusion between Paramount and Skydance. By combining Paramount's vast content library and extensive distribution network with Skydance's expertise in animation, interactive content, and cutting-edge production technology, the merger aims to create a more efficient, agile, and competitive new Paramount. So prices continue to rise for many of the most popular streaming services. Max and Peacock raised prices in July. Paramount Plus will increase prices on August 20th. Starz will do so in September. And Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus will be increasing prices in October. Paramount executive Bob Bakish even admitted that this was not the last price increase and that the company plans to raise prices again within the next year or so. But consumers are not just handing over more money. Among the internet households that subscribe to at least one OTT streaming service, the average spend per month is now $63. This is a $17 decrease from 6 months prior and really illustrates how consumers are shifting priorities. As many of the most popular streaming services raise prices year after year, consumers are churning away regularly, seeking out cost-effective bundles, canceling altogether, moving to cheaper ad-based service tiers, or incorporating more entirely free options like fast services. Early on, streaming services were focused on gaining as many subscribers as possible and actually promoted account sharing among family members and friends. But this is not the case anymore. In May 2023, Netflix famously implemented an update on sharing accounts between households that prevented the use of a single Netflix account in multiple locations. Netflix also pioneered what they call paid sharing, where users can still share accounts with others if they want to, but with limitations and, of course, an extra fee. And this model appears to have worked. Other streaming services are now beginning to follow suit, with possibly more to follow if the success continues. Disney Plus plans to follow the same structure, so only those who live under the same roof will be able to share an account, but account holders can still purchase an extra member if desired. This shift to paid sharing reflects the intensity to which streaming companies are now focusing on profitability and user monetization over just subscriber numbers alone. So the cost to stream is going up, but consumers are spending less. This is likely because they are migrating to those cheaper ad-supported tiers and using more free ad-based services. The percentage of US internet households that subscribe to at least one SVOD service in the last month continues to grow, as does the use of free ad-based streaming services. Average spending on streaming may be going down, but consumers still find ways to access the entertainment content they want, just with a little more interruptions now. When we look at more of our consumer data to help us understand the drivers of ad-based streaming service use, we find that nearly 60% of those using ad-based video services report watching the service simply because it's free. And this is an almost 10% increase in households from 2 years prior in 2022. The second driver is availability of specific content, and the third is that ad-based streaming helps pass the time. These three drivers of cost, content availability, and convenience have consistently ranked as the top drivers for ad-based service use since 2021. And this consistency highlights not only the enduring appeal of ad-based services generally, but also highlights where the market is headed in terms of affordability to consumers. When it comes to pain points with ad-based streaming, almost 80% of households highly agree that the same ads repeat too many times and that the ads are shown way too often. And notably, this has not improved within the last year. Ad-based viewers continue to be frustrated by watching the same ads over and over at every commercial break, as well as the frequency of those ads. Either reducing the number of ad breaks overall or working to address this repetition problem better can greatly enhance the overall experience for the viewer and increase positive perceptions of the service. Also, interestingly, the perception that viewers are served ads that are relevant and personalized to them has noticeably declined instead of improved. Now, it's hard to say if this is because ad technology is not working optimally or if consumers are opting out of that personalization data that would ultimately help serve them more ads relevant to them. Meanwhile, streaming companies, wireless service providers, and other third-party companies have all been working to create enticing, value-driven bundles aimed at generating more consistent revenue streams. In addition, bundles are also designed to prevent subscriber churn, increase customer reach, and enhance overall customer loyalty. By combining streaming services with mobile plans, for instance, it creates more value to the consumer and makes it harder to switch providers. This strengthens customer retention and ideally brings in new customers also attracted to that value. New this summer, Disney+, Hulu, and Max teamed up to create a bundle with a highly diverse selection of content at a very competitive price point of $17 per month for now. In such a saturated and competitive market, bundles are a critical strategy to help maintain a competitive edge and promote that long-term loyalty. Sports fans have grown considerably more frustrated with the streaming ecosystem, specifically with how unpredictable and challenging it is to find, access, and watch a variety of sports events today. Games are regularly rotating among providers. Consumers must not only figure out where a game is located, but also if they have access to that game, including the channel or service that it's on, as well as if there are any local blackouts or restrictions. In recent news, the National Hockey League entered into a 7-year partnership with a parent media company to provide free ad-supported streaming of all Dallas Stars games for local fans. The service will be called Victory Plus and could very well change how sports are broadcast and monetized. Another significant development in sports streaming is the recent deal with the NBA and several media companies. Starting for the 2025-2026 season, the NBA will begin an 11-year media rights deal worth $76 billion with ESPN, ABC, NBC, and Amazon Prime Video. According to Parks Associates research, around 30% of U.S. internet households currently subscribe to at least one sports OTT service. Live sports continue to attract a large live viewership even as traditional pay TV viewership declines. But sports broadcasting has not been immune to financial issues. Regional sports networks in particular depend heavily on cable subscription fees and long-term deals with pay TV companies. When these deals fall through, it can prevent fans from watching their favorite sports teams and even jeopardize the financial health of these networks. The recent NBA media rights deal and Dallas Stars Victory Plus streaming service are well positioned to set trends for the future of sports media agreements, shaping how sports leagues, networks, and digital platforms all work together. Entertainment providers are also now working on catering more content to specific demographic groups. According to Parks Associates research, Hispanic viewers subscribe to an average of 6 streaming services relative to the 4 of all U.S. households overall. The average number of paid subscriptions is also rising, moving from an average of 2 in 2019 to 6 today. Hispanic viewers clearly find value in streaming entertainment. To help capture this market, Comcast recently launched Now TV Latino, a $10 per month Spanish language streaming package. And Charter and Televisa Univision introduced a free version of ViX Premium with ads. Both initiatives illustrate another growing trend of providing tailored, accessible streaming services and content to specific demographic segments. By offering these accessible and affordable options, these companies are not only broadening their reach, but also fostering a deeper connection with diverse audiences who are seeking out this culturally relevant content in their preferred language already. And finally, another future trend that we see is with artificial intelligence, the famous AI. AI has long been a part of the streaming entertainment user experience through uses such as content recommendations and other personalized interactions. But AI can also be used to optimize how advertisements are presented to viewers. Parks Associates data finds that when viewers watch ads that closely align with the content they're watching, it enhances the overall viewing experience. And it also raises their interest in T-commerce. This interest not only helps drive viewer engagement higher, but also opens the door to impulse purchases and seamless shopping experiences. The convergence of AI-driven advertising and T-commerce is just one area where AI is a powerful influence within the streaming industry. And it still has a lot of potential to improve and evolve over time. Thank you, everyone, and please give us a moment as we prepare for the next session.
I'm Elizabeth Parks, the president and CMO of Parks Associates, and so excited to welcome you here to our Future of Video virtual series. And today we're going to welcome our first visionary speaker, James Burt, the SVP of Product for JW Player. JW Player has over 40,000 broadcasters, publishers, and other video-driven brands, and is a video platform focused around engagement and monetization strategies for video content. James is the SVP of Broadcast Products and has over 20 years working in the streaming industry. We're so excited to welcome him to our stage and share a little bit more about what's going on with the latest trends in streaming. So James, thank you, welcome, and we appreciate you joining us. Let's go ahead and start and see if you could do an introduction of yourself and your role at JW Player.
Thank you, and thank you very much for inviting me. It's great to be here virtually. Love to be face-to-face, but virtually is cool. So I'm James Burt, as Elizabeth said, SVP of Broadcast Product here at JW Player. I've been working in the streaming industry for over 20 plus years. I've worked with many broadcasters across the globe, from digital-only broadcasters all the way up to tier one. I was previously the CTO and co-founder of ViewAlto, where we specialized in live streaming and content security for tier one broadcasters. ViewAlto was a company acquired actually by JW Player in April 2021, and we have now incorporated the old ViewAlto tech stack into the JW product to further enrich the JW experience. And just a bit more about JW Player. We see it as a full end-to-end streaming platform. Obviously, our roots are very much in the player technology, but we are very much a platform-first company now. We look to deliver live to VOD and VOD streams, and we have a comprehensive dashboard and API that allows our customers to use our streamlined workflows to deliver their content. We've worked across the published sector for over 10 years, providing comprehensive monetization solution for publishers around our advertising capabilities. But more recently, we've been working towards a more broadcast-centric stack alongside our publisher use cases. We have a sort of full stack broadcast platform that supports the specific needs of broadcasters, such as 24/7 live streaming, event streaming, digital rights management, server-side ad insertion. And we work with a sort of range of broadcasters from sort of smaller digital brands that just have an online presence, like Volleyball World or Cowboy Channel. And we then also work with sort of more sophisticated tier one broadcasters who would have a linear presence as well. So, for example, VRT is the leading broadcaster in Belgium, and ITV, which is one of the main UK broadcasters. Thank you.
Okay, great. James, I think we might be having a little bit of audio trouble as well here, and I'm deciphering it might be the wireless earbuds. Is there any way that?
Yeah. Let me try and.
Sorry to interrupt you there with that, but we want to be able to hear you clearly, and sometimes the wireless maybe goes in and out a little.
Okay, bear with me 1 second.
So while you're working on that, I will respond to your initial comments about your great experience in streaming and really being able to see the evolution as it's happened over decades of time here with video distribution. There's so much going on now with really the transformation of how consumers are watching video and that move from broadcast and cable TV over to streaming. And so I want to start the conversation about some of these big trends that we're seeing in the market, really the rise of the hybrid models. So let's see, I'll let you go ahead if you want to just chat here for a second.
Let's do one of those testing 1, 2, 3s and see if that sounds better.
Yeah, I think you're sounding really great right now. So we've got the mic set. So thanks for fiddling with those.
Problem.
So again, we're talking about the rise of these hybrid models and how this is really changing the streaming landscape for service providers, not just the content being distributed, but also the advertising, the formats of the content, the formats of the ads, and all of the technology stacks that are getting intertwined into the distribution model. So tell us a little bit about what you're seeing with this evolution as consumers and the industry are embracing hybrid subscription models with advertising included.
Yeah, and I would reiterate the point that the streaming landscape's always changing. So it's something that we always have to be aware of, that things are changing rapidly. The hybrid service has sort of shifted the focus of content owners from more engagement and growth to sort of monetization and operational efficiencies. We're seeing customers that sort of starting to move away from performance focus, although they still want an excellent quality and delivery. That it's less of a priority factor for them, and we're seeing that they're focusing more on the ability to grow revenue, and their focus is very much on data and data-driven decisions. This is something we see time in, time out with our customers. More data enabling us to make better decisions. And I think it's also the need for a more flexible, scalable, extensible video streaming delivery solution. I think there are a lot of broadcasters out there that are still using their own sort of homegrown setups. And I think this is more becoming a commodity where platforms are able to offer an end-to-end solution at a lot more affordable and a lot easier to go to market with. So it's definitely a trend that we're seeing.
And so maybe you can expand a little bit on what you think is driving some of these ad-supporting streaming services. We've seen this rise now to 42% of all households, and that continued step up with ad models. What's behind it? Is it the cost of the subscriptions, or is it just getting more eyeballs on the content?
Yeah, I think it's eyeballs. I think it's eyeballs to the content. I mean, FAST is a funny one because for me, I've been in the broadcast industry, as I said, quite a long time. So for me, it feels like we're going sort of backwards in time to the more linear, lean back experience where customers are, clients and watchers are getting frustrated with the fatigue of trying to search for different content, discover different content. So I think FAST has come in very fast, should we say, but it's enabling people to lean back and just click through channels until they find some content that they like. So I definitely think there's a level of fatigue in people trying to discover content. And I think viewers have there is a subscription fatigue, no cost content, a linear or VOD experience, targeted advertising, select content. I think all these models are just providing that extra flexibility. And one time or sometime viewers of particular content, e.g. those that only watch the Tour de France, for etc., give sports organizations the ability to capture those viewers with minimal setup. So I think that cost to market is very important with FAST. It's very easy to set up a FAST channel. You can do it from a set of VODs that you have in a library, and you can make a linear channel very, very quickly and add that advertising monetization to it. So I think that's where I'm seeing the main push from the FAST perspective.
And so getting these business models so that they're profitable, right? Everybody is very focused on figuring out how to make the money side work. But we continue to see lots of streaming services very, very challenged in this market, especially after spending, maybe millions and millions and millions of dollars on securing the content. Now they're facing a different set of challenges. We're seeing price increases across the board. I just read about the Sunday ticket package or a football thing going up $30 a year just today, and the increased rise of prices. But also we saw Disney announcing that they made a profit, which is kind of like, yay, good for them if they can come out and say that. So where do you think some of these challenges are coming from? Is it because the necessity of technology and software and the AI and that's expensive?
Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, technology is expensive, and as technology changes, and we have to keep up with the new trends. It's super expensive. If you have a big infrastructure set up as a large broadcaster, it's very, very, very expensive capital injection to change all that infrastructure. And I think where I see is most people over the last 12, 18 months post COVID, we had the big COVID, huge spike, but post-COVID, people are now looking for serious operational efficiencies. So they're trying to do things smarter and cheaper. And I think where JWP sort of attacks this is we come from a sort of platform end-to-end simplification of workflows, and we're trying to portray a different way of doing things. So you don't need to build it all yourself. You can use a service that's there and available. And I think that's something we're seeing a lot of tier one broadcasters, even tier twos that maybe wouldn't have looked at a platform type solution in the past, now are more interested in looking at whether they can, provide some operational efficiency, etc. And I think there is this problem of subscription churn. I know we're going to come on to that later, but viewers are moving on based on content availabilities, on promotions, on cost, and this is a challenge that the industry is seeing, as has been highlighted already from your colleague earlier. So,
Well, yeah, and maybe we can stick with churn here for just a minute. We do show annualized churn rates around 47%, and it's been fairly consistent since a lot of these streaming services were introduced. And so, what do you think is going to help with that problem, or is that something that streaming services should anticipate as just part of the built-in business model since, I mean, it's existed since these services were introduced?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's all about the content, right? I mean, the content has to be good. And I think once you have good content, it then becomes about retention. And how do you keep, what are the retention strategies to keep these customers on your site? Coupon offers, special deals, communication, interactivity, all of these things we see more and more and more is what is the extra edge that you can give to your content, to your platform, that keeps these customers and streaming with you rather than someone else. So I think we see a lot more emphasis on what I would call engagement features. So interactivity, as I said, is becoming very, very, very popular. We see lots of companies appearing in the market offering another unique twist to getting the user to engage. There's ones popping up all the time. So I think this is an area that will grow more and more as these companies look to find different ways of keeping their customers and keeping their subscribers.
Well, and that retention piece becomes so important. As you said, it's driven by content, which also means that we're seeing new forms of content being introduced, whether it's shouldering content, whether it's short form video, whether it's clips and cuts and content getting pushed across different platforms. The industry is also dealing with the mobility factor and devices that are mobile, and the people watching on their, not just on the television, the centerpiece of the house, but it could be the phone, it could be the tablet, it could be the phone to the tablet to the TV. There's so many options now for how consumers are watching and engaging with video, and a lot of competition. All of this also speaks to that advertising side. And so let's get a little bit into what's the impact here for advertisers and these brands who are trying to figure out how to capture this vast majority of people to try to sell their products to. How do you see the advertisers navigating this, and what do you see differently with the ad technology that is becoming standout as these new models rise?
Yeah, I mean, we come from a world of client-side ad insertion. So client-side ad insertion is the traditional popular way of advertising with video, which is all driven by the client. And it's been around for a long time, and it works very well in certain scenarios. But I think when you're looking at the technology itself, SSAI, server-side ad insertion, has now become more mainstream. The technology basically provides us with a seamless viewing experience. The main difference between client side and server side is as it says in the title, one is handled by the client and the other is handled by the server side. What we're seeing is, as we're trying to drive more eyeballs to our content, people are trying to drive their content through different, multiple devices. So this is beyond the web, beyond mobile. This is connected TVs, and there are a lot of them. It's Roku. It's all these other streaming devices. And unfortunately, every single one of these, when you put client-side ad insertion technology in place, requires a slightly different setup. So it can become extremely fragmented and extremely difficult to manage. So what we're seeing now is there's this massive trend towards using server-side ad technology, because everything is done on the server side. So the stream to the actual device and to the customer is seamless. There is none of that buffering in between the ad and the mainline content. There is no difference in the quality of the ad versus the main content. So it's a much better seamless experience. And I think what we're seeing is that being adopted more and more, both in the live and in the VOD use cases.
What about ad inventory and also the engagement side of it? And so I think this speaks to the number of times ads come up, the type of ad that's coming up. I made a joke, which is very true, that I got some ads for diapers, and I have teenagers, and so I'm not buying diapers. And I just thought, wow, they really got that wrong. And I saw the Pampers or the Huggies, it was like 5 times. So they really got it wrong, because I kept seeing the same ad that clearly wasn't meant for me, even though somebody thought it was. So it is the inventory side about the number of times ads end up being seen, or how they get picked to go to which viewer.
Yeah, so what we're trying to do, and I think most organizations know, ads can be tedious. You've perfect example just given. They can be extremely tedious. So the only way to make ads less tedious is to make them more relevant to the user that's watching the content. And the only way to really do that is to use as much contextual data as we can. So the way we attack that is we actually basically take contextual fragments from all of the videos that are played through our platform, and basically they give us keywords or buzzwords that we can pass through to the ad servers in order for the ad server to then say, okay, this person is actually watching something about fishing, therefore I'll sell in a fishing ad into that content. So that's one way where we can steer better ad inventory to viewers. And I think where AI may come in here, and I know we may talk about this in a moment, is AI might help us machine learn what's the viewer watched before, what are viewers in their same genre watching, what's viewers in their countries watching, and then AI in real time can also pass further information to really pinpoint that advertising experience so it meets with approval, if you like, with the customer. Because let's face facts, none of us like ads. Some people may, but I personally can't stand them. So if I want to watch an ad, I really do want to watch an ad that makes some sense to me. So I think it's a massive area of growth now where data is driving this sort of AI, everything, in order to get that experience really specific to the user that's watching the content.
Yeah, and it's not just a little bit of data. It's a massive amount of data that's being generated by individuals and then aggregated, and really that AI and trying to figure out how to make meaning of it and then apply the information. I mean, it's very interesting, all that is going on as it relates to advertising and the use of technology. I do have an audience question, so I'm going to go ahead and ask that. So let me read it to you here. Is FAST sustainable? It seems like content has become a lot better, but being able to deliver quality that's purely supported by ads seems like it would be difficult.
It's the $1 million question. So whoever asked that, well done. It's a good one. I mean, I think the problem that you've got is FAST has exploded in like 18 months, 2 years. There are so many FAST channels. I mean, if you turn on your Samsung, whichever TV, and you go to Samsung TV Plus, for example, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of channels. And I think the issue is the quality of the content good enough? My personal view, it isn't. I personally think that we will see FAST taper off over the next sort of 12 months. I just cannot see how it can be sustained with the quality of the content that we're seeing. What we might find is that some of the key players may stay in the space, but some of the smaller ones that are just trying to make a quick buck at the end of the day, I think they will start to die off.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about the ROI on all of that and the sustainability long term. Well, and that gets back to really this artificial intelligence, machine learning, all the things that are going on in the background with data. And so let's talk a little bit about personalization and that interactivity piece that can come with streaming services now. You mentioned earlier, getting people engaged in the content becomes critical for the retention side of it. And so where do you think that AI and machine learning, all this tech in the background, is going to have the biggest impact? And what would you maybe advise some of these streaming services on, what to do? I think they're overwhelmed with choices and options of different software providers and in reaching for that monetization strategy. At the end of the day, people need to be making more money than they're spending and see that, the subscribers, be able to really forecast that and predict some of the stability of the service they're offering.
Yeah, I mean, as a general comment, my view, I mean, AI is the biggest buzzword in tech at the moment. Everybody knows that. But my personal view, and I think this is borne out from the amount of companies that are popping up, or when you go to a trade show, everybody puts AI on their stand. But I generally think that AI is still quite immature in video. I just don't think we've quite worked out how to use it efficiently and how to make money from it, more importantly. So I think that will change. And obviously, as time goes on, we will find, common trends of where AI can be used. I think personally, there's a couple of areas that I see where AI could be extremely useful, and that's in the content preparation and metadata enrichment. So this is really about using AI to enrich the content and the metadata associated with that content. So this could be contextual metadata. It could be bringing in third-party stats feeds if it's a sports service, or it could be bringing in, film and critic stuff if it's a film and movie service, and using AI there to try and make some sense of all that data and give something useful to the end user experience. So I think that area specifically will explode soon. And then I think the key one is targeted advertising. So can we use AI to predict brands, topic segments based on viewing behavior? Because if we can start to do that, then that whole ad experience can be greatly improved, and it will really start to show in churn rates, etc., and get away from hopefully too many nappy commercials from your perspective.
Okay, we've got one more question from the audience I want to get in here about low-hanging fruit for operational efficiency. So we're still seeing waves of layoffs coming. It's so painful sometimes to open up LinkedIn and see who doesn't not have a job anymore. Staff are being forced to do more with less because, the people are going away in some cases, and the reshuffling and restructuring, all these changes means you do have to do more with less. And so where do you think some of these operational gains using technology can show up the most?
Yeah, I can give you a couple of examples where we've been innovative, if you like, in this area. So if you look at traditional broadcast workflows, they're quite complex. You have a separate one for live, a separate one for VOD. With the technology that's out there now, you can actually combine these quite cleverly together. So using your live content to generate your VOD instantaneously without having to send it through a read transcode, for example. So that's a technology that we introduced quite some time ago now, which means our customers, once they have a live event and then it transitions into a VOD event, it's available instantly, number one, which is great, but also we're not retranscoding. So we're not putting that through another workflow. It's the same content. We've just basically saved it from the live event. So I think that's, for example, quite a good operational efficiency that we've seen that can save a considerable amount of money when you consider the amount of content, some of these live services are transitioning into VOD. So that would be an area I would say is worth looking at. And I think also it's not getting too stuck in a single cloud environment. I think everyone knows AWS monopolizes this area quite considerably, but there are opportunities to use other cloud providers in conjunction with some AWS services to get an operational efficiency or savings. So, Google have some areas that they're very good at. So mixing and matching cloud technology, don't be afraid to do that, because I think that's a way forward. And even mixing it with if you have a real estate, server farm, etc. yourself, mixing several of those together, I think can give you the opportunity to blend and save some money on those operational expenses.
Sure, very interesting. Well, certainly the operational side becomes important in terms of being able to try to reduce expenses, create operational efficiencies, and just make things easier to be able to get done. Also, that monetization side and driving revenue. And so one of my last questions here is going to be specifically about any new streams of revenue that you see that are, being enabled because of the technology, things that really couldn't potentially have been done before, before AI was introduced into the workflow or into the streaming service.
Yeah, so an example, funnily enough, that we've just been implementing for one of our customers is in a live. If you think of a live event, it's very difficult to do advertising within a live stream. Customers want to actually view, specifically the sports, because people want to watch the sports. They're not interested in the advertising. So what I'm seeing a lot of, and what we've implemented just recently for a reasonably large sports broadcaster, is side-by-side advertising. So this is where you will continue to watch the live stream in one player, but then the advertising will come by the side of it, and then there may be a banner behind it. So this is basically increasing ad inventory and ultimately generating more CPM, more ad impressions. But it's a quite clever way of not upsetting the sports hungry customer too much, but still being able to bring some advertising in alongside it. And I've seen some really clever ways now of it's not just side by side, it can be picture in print. All different variants of that are now starting to become quite mainstream. So I definitely think that's an area of growth, and as the technology gets better and more seamless, that I think we'll see a lot more of that.
Well, there certainly is a lot to come. I mean, streaming's been going on here for a long, long time, but there's a lot of changes and shifts going on, and we're always excited to be tracking the streaming market and video distribution. We very much appreciate you joining us today. I have to throw out to our audience that we have just published a new white paper, and we would encourage you all to read this. This was in partnership with JW Player, really talking about maximizing efficiency and monetization. So that's available on Parks Associates website. We hope you'll enjoy reading that. And James, we're grateful for your time today. Thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you in person soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So we will be right back. Give us just a minute, and we will be back to introduce Snorble, who is the next company that we will be featuring in today's Future of Video virtual event series. So thanks for being here. Okay, welcome back. Thank you for joining us for Parks Associates Future of Video event series. I'm Elizabeth Parks. I'm the president and CMO of Parks Associates, and I'm really excited today to welcome Mike Rizkallah, the CEO and co-founder of Snorble, to join us. I've had the chance to talk to Mike several different times, and this is a very interesting company. Mike is going to share more of what they're working on. The company was founded in 2019. It's a tech startup that invented a robotic toy that interacts with children to help them develop healthy habits and better bedtime routines. Mike, we are so excited to have you joining us today, and we're looking forward to this presentation and really sharing more about how this toy startup ties into the streaming content industry. So thank you so much for being here, and I will let you introduce yourself and take it away with your presentation.
Oh, thank you so much, Elizabeth. We're really, really, really happy to be here and very thankful that you included us in this talk today. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about myself first. Obviously my name is Mike Rizkallah. I'm CEO and co-founder of Snorble. I have a computer electrical engineering background, but most of my career has been in motion graphics and UX design for digital products and television. I've been fortunate enough to be part of two companies that changed how we use technology all over the world before I was 30. Second one was most pertinent to what I do today with Snorble. I was first employee at a company that removed paper from 2D animation. So we were one of the very first ever companies to fully digitize animation. And my role there became to apply for experimental grants in order to create new experiences for children. Then I started up my own product company, which I had for 13 years, called Brave New World. And in 2014, paired off with having my daughter, which threw me into a panic because first child. We decided to basically explore what kind of opportunities would exist to leave more of a legacy, to step back into a role of creating global change in technology. And what we found was an opportunity where robotics was going to commercialize for the first time. We saw it coming from AI, we saw it coming from advancements in processor, and we saw it coming from also from advancements in battery. So with that, in 2014, we opened up a lab focused on artificial intelligence, robotics, and the Internet of Things. Jump ahead to 2020, basically a realization that came from having my second child was that there was a tremendous opportunity to create experiences for children leveraging all these technologies. And Snorble is the first byproduct of that. So with that said, maybe I can take them into the presentation. Okay. So this talk is about the future of entertainment. So the future of entertainment is really about great storytelling and the advancements in how we experience those stories. From the dawn of civilization, the caveman wanted to document, engage, and propel their stories to friends and family alike. Storytelling is simply intrinsic to us. From illustration to narrative to live performance to audio to pictures to film, advancing how we bring stories to life has been a part of human history. Allowing our imagination to be realized has been central to how we tell stories, and technology plays an integral role in the process. Technologists will continue to create the tools that empower creators, finding new and creative ways to bring drama and persona to those still images. Throughout history, those that make stories feel alive are the ones we really connect with. And we are in a new age of storytelling, and this is the focus of this keynote. So let's take a step back. The first commercial screen was created in 1895. That is a remarkable invention. And it wasn't created from one revolutionary step. It was created from a series of different breakthroughs where a group had finally taken those really incredible small steps and pieced it together to create this experience for the audience. Similarly, we are on the brink of incredible advancements that together I believe will lead us to a remarkable new storytelling experience. So let's talk a little about the evolution of the screen. As the means in which we engage with so much of our stories, it is a critical element in how we define the future of this industry. Film and cinema has always been at the essence of imagining how a story will unfold. The medium of the screen is, however, changing, and we will begin to see content distributed in so many new ways. Storytelling will once again evolve into something completely new. So let's talk a little bit about where the concept of the screen is going. So the future of the screen feels very different. However, these examples are actually not the future. These innovations are happening right now. Let's take a look at the top left-hand corner. That's Hank Smith Industries. Okay, so Hank Smith Industries wanted to create the Iron Man desk. They wanted to basically create Tony Stark's desk. And what they did was they took a series of technologies, 3D scanner, right? An LED display where they can see 3D projected objects, and then a 3D printer. And through them scanning an object, manipulating on that screen, and then sending it to print, they're actually able to follow that full workflow from the movie. That's pretty incredible. So a series of technologies brought together. Just down below, you see a flexible LED transparent display. So that is not glass that's projecting that. That's actually a flexible plastic piece that's almost wallpapered onto that enclosure. Now, it's an incredible experience to sit in there. But as you can imagine, combining that with existing technologies gives wildly new opportunities for an experiential storytelling experience. So with that said, let's take a look at some radically new technologies. We have over to the far right, that is a fabric-based display. In China, researchers have recently been able to transmit electronic signal through fabric. Now it's one color, but when it gets to be 3 for RGB, we're going to start to see real pictures applied to that fabric. Can you imagine what that might be like in the home or for our clothing? Imagine drapes or outfits completely changing with visual images. And just down below that, we see probably my favorite of all these different opportunities. It's a company called Lumalure, which has actually created a method of transmitting signal through paint. That's not a screen on that car. That's actually paint that's transmitting a signal. So as we have kind of always hoped and imagined, the idea of being able to paint onto a wall an entire screen, and then through, again, augmenting existing technologies to be able to isolate a certain area to display, or even to have a fully immersive experience within our home. You know, those are the opportunities that are coming. And again, most of this technology is already created. This is really not the future. This is right now. So now that we've seen some examples of the new screen, let's discuss some advancements in the tools for storytellers. Technology is rapidly advancing the art of storytelling. And here, what we have is we have a series of different groups that have created advancements in technology that together are very interesting. So top left corner, we have a fully AI generated character that is a replica, an exact replica of an existing person. Now the opportunity there is great for certain situations, and storytellers will be able to leverage that in different mediums. Just down below, we have Midjourney and Runway, which are two different AI technology companies I'm sure you've all heard of. It's all over everything right now. Midjourney has the ability to generate images from text. And what this individual has done is generated out a person and an animal, and then merged them together in these creepy characters that we see here. Runway is the ability to take those images and then through segmentation and then generation, animate them. And that's actually what we're seeing. We're seeing two technologies brought together to create. Now, one of the challenges for this technology is that you don't really control the outcome. It is generating specifically based off of your prompts. In the middle, we see a very powerful tool from Meta called SAM. And what they're able to do here is segment, so take from the image, isolate different parts of it, and then bring it to life like they did with these fishes. They're also able to completely replace and manipulate those assets within video and within images. It's a very powerful tool for production. And what would generally take many, many hours for every single one of these pieces so far is now much, much shorter, right? To the top right hand, we see a Pixar-related character that's being generated. So the reason why I put this up here is two reasons. One, it's live transcription, which is very interesting. The second thing is that they're able to very specifically create an asset that is relevant to the art direction and context of that production. And that's a very powerful tool. And then just down below, we have Corridor Crew, who have created a fully AI-related production. There is no illustration that was done. The team here has leveraged technology, many different technologies, in order to create this production. Now, was it easy? Absolutely not. However, they were still able to make something that feels high quality without actually having a person with a very specific skill set like animation involved in that production. So this is today. This is, again, not the future. Similar to what you saw with Midjourney and Runway, we can see how these tools together might make an incredible tool set for creators. Expertise is still needed, though. Like, don't think that people can just do this. And that's where I feel like the panic on the interwebs was coming from, right? It's still needed. Great storytellers are still needed. What it just means is that production can be done with so much less. So, much less people, for example, right? And that is really a powerful tool for creators. Okay, so let's imagine the screen of the future. What do you believe the screen of the future will be? Could it be an amalgamation of the technologies you've seen? Are there elements of different things you imagine the world to be, right? One thing is certain, the screen as we know it will be completely transformed. It's coming, and it's important for anyone in the industry to understand and invest in the future that is coming, because it's coming fast. The content that we love will be delivered in incredibly new ways. And I have a challenging perspective for y'all. I happen to believe it'll be delivered via our new robots here. Our content will be delivered via projection, holograms, connected with context and by the command of these machines. The idea of them doing our laundry, making a great meal, or cleaning the house is something I believe most of us want. That said, how many of you want it from these machines? What do you feel when you see these robots? Are you excited or are you scared? I believe that nobody wants the future to look like this. Even if it can fold my laundry, I would be terrified these robots might harm my family. So further, how do we interface with computers and how do we engage with machines? The way we are going to be interfacing with robots in the future is the basis for storytelling. The characters we love will exist in real life. Here's another prediction. In the future, there will be an incredible level of focus on humanizing machines. Even more so, I believe our companions will be characters that will be part of our story. The actual storytelling process will not be something that's a passive experience. It will be very much an active experience and ongoing. This is where great storytellers will help not only create the content that is distributed via these machines, but also the narrative and the personas that will exist within these machines. This is how we move to the next generation of storytelling, where the robots that are created are supporting characters for our lives. And I am not the only one who thinks so. This is the future of storytelling, when characters we love will exist with us, can comment on, sense our emotions, emit care, love, laughter, and joy. Let me showcase a few companies that are making strides in this way. Some are startups and some are very big companies. But just note, every major organization, a technology organization, has invested heavily in this space. They are moving in this direction. So first, let me show you Lumo. Lumo's in the top left-hand corner. It's a pet. It's cute, right? It's not meant to do a lot of things, but it's meant to emit some joy, okay? Just down below it, we have Amazon's Astro. It's a security robot. It's meant to monitor and see who's coming in the house and make sure everyone in the house is supposed to be in the house. Now, you'll see here that children are playing with Lumo, right? Because it's important to have that interaction with the family. Now, in the middle, a company that made some waves at CES is called Enchanted Machines. Now, while I still think there's some design issues with this, what they really leaned into, to their credit, was character. That face is how they're trying to create a less intimidating form. However, I still believe it's kind of intimidating. Right? Just my personal opinion. Now, if we take a look over to the far right-hand side, you'll see Moxie. Now, Moxie is a very cute robot that basically helps children deal with their emotions, older children. And just below that, we have EliQ, which is created by Intrinsic, which is a robot that helps elder care, helps with elder care, helps older people with loneliness, and creates a direct connection from the family to their loved ones. So we believe at Snorable that this is the future. This feels more like the machines we want to engage with, right? Okay. And that is why we are investing in that way. This is actually Snorable. This is my shameless plug, which of course we have to do. So Snorable is my company and an amalgamation of so much of the good that you saw on the last screen. In my humble opinion, Snorable is the greatest child development tool ever that has been created. And I have invested the last 10 years towards bringing an animated character to life. Through this loving character and the focus on character specifically, Snorable delivers a developmental program that will help children globally be the best that they can be. How does it work? It works through great storytelling, music, and a fun, silly character. So Snorable engages young children, earns their trust, and then delivers music, lights, laughter, joy, and love. Almost all of our customers are using Snorable every single day for months and months now. The children kiss and hug them, and parents feel confident in the content that their child is experiencing. This is how technology should be used for the betterment of our families. So storytelling feels different, doesn't it? The way I see it is the story will no longer be part of a passive engagement. The characters, like Snorable, will be part of the greatest story ever told, our own. The content creators will have entirely new tools that will allow these characters that we love to be realized. The content will also be created and delivered via these machines, will interact with these machines, and will even train these machines, which is an entirely new category that's being created. They will command our services, give us content on demand, and will be at the center point for interaction in our home and work lives. This is where it's all going. And we are not the only ones that think so. Disney Imagineering has spent so much time bringing robots from the movies to life, a 3D asset to life. Starting out as a digital character in Star Wars, brilliant creatives and engineering teams, leveraging all the great techniques we spoke of earlier, were brought together to create a robot that has personality, is cute, reacts to us. Why would they do this? Why would Disney do this? It's not a huge character in the movie. It's not going to propel the brand. It's because they believe in storytelling. They believe in characters, and they believe in the imagination and creativity that arises from the act of creation. So the future and where all of this is going. Connected homes will not be just a box that we talk to make grocery lists and turn on the stereo. These machines will know more about who we are, true context, which I know has come up many times in the conversation earlier today. True context. right? It will evolve and change in how we react and what we are dealing with. Take note, as I'm sure that many of you think I'm crazy. Frankly, you're right. I am crazy. That said, crazy is the only constant in innovation. We predicted the outcomes of today 10 years ago by watching the signs and monitoring innovation. I will tell you that the world of tomorrow, again, is coming faster than you think. In order to not be the Kodak of this generation, I would highly recommend picking some areas of true fringe and investing in innovation. The greatest companies to exist tomorrow will be at the forefront by pioneering the technology today. This is why I started Snorble. We wanted to be ourselves pioneers in the new world, and we will leave behind for our children a legacy. If anyone would like to know more about Snorble, discuss this topic further, have an argument, I'm totally open to that. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much for listening.
So, Mike, thank you so much. What an amazing presentation. I really enjoyed that. I took some notes while you were talking, and just it really is just emphasizing the shifts and change that are coming with content creation, even the ownership of the content, the liveliness that can come through technology. I mean, the assets, the time to market, the context, this idea about robots really, becoming more than just a robot, because of technology and all the context that can come along with it. So super, super interesting. And I mean, we would love following what you're doing. I love listening to you, especially with the history of work that you've done. What do you think is going to be a catalyst to consumer habits changing and shifting and starting to embrace some of this technology? There's still a wariness in some ways around privacy and data security and trust, all these big words. So what do you think is going to help speed up the markets generally with technology being embraced?
Well, right now there's an extreme focus on cloud, right? Because that's how we've all been working in the last bunch of years. So it's all about it being in the cloud. Where we invested and where I believe things are going is as the processing advances and as things kind of even more so advance from a technology perspective, most of these things will happen on edge. They'll happen directly on device, where the connectivity layer to the cloud will become part of the experience, but not the basis of the experience. And you see, that changes a lot of things, right? It changes a lot of things in terms of how we consume the content, but also in terms of how we engage and when we open up those gates to the outside world, right? It's like, if you can imagine living in a house with your door completely wide open, that's what we're doing right now, right? From a data perspective. The door is opened, it's totally coming in. We're totally letting people go out. Everyone is walking through and inside and outside of our house. That's what we're doing, right? So as we kind of look at the opportunity, I think it's really going to be in edge and on the periphery. The second thing that I think is also really important is the aspect of abstraction, right? So right now, the way that the models are all being trained is they're all being trained with straight data. I believe that there's going to be a point in which we translate that data, where the algorithm itself will understand, but no human would be able to. It'll sound different. It'll look different, right? And through that translation, we'll be able to get the value without necessarily having to expose a person's home or a person's life in that way. So those I think are advances that are kind of already available, but they need to be applied in a way in order for us to protect the privacy of our homes.
Okay, and what about a final question here, just on the impact for brands and advertisers and these huge companies who spend lots and lots of money to ensure that their product visibility is getting out there. Does this introduction of AI practically everywhere, a game changer for those brands, for the toy industry, for the services side of it. How would you describe that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, so the thing I would say is that when you think about AI, right, you think about essentially generation. Typically, most people think, oh, I punch in this thing and now I put in a text command, now this thing happens, right? But the truth is that what AI really will give us is context. You know, if we had something in the house, like like your better half, for example, that understands how you're feeling at that moment, right, in that time of day, and can offer up a bit of comfort, or can give you something that is more pertinent to your immediate needs, like, hey, you haven't eaten yet today. Here's a sandwich, for example, right? So that context is where I think our value is really going to come in. And I think that the companies that are doing it very well are really focused in that way, right? Now, with respect to production, see, some of the advantages of the things I showed above were there was some AI that was just being generated without any control. It's like I punch something in, it just gives me something. The value to a true production in that regard is not that great. It's actually not great, right? A great storyteller still wants to tell their story, right? So when you look at, for example, Meta and what Meta's done by taking existing assets, for example, and then having them come to life, so images that now are fully animated, or changing a fish from a small fish to a big fish because you want to, right? That application is tremendously powerful. And the beauty is that from a privacy and a concern, and also from a licensing perspective on those assets, well, they're your assets. The AI is just manipulating them, right? It's using segmentation and manipulation in order to do the thing. So the opportunity, I really think, is to look at what's available, see how it fits within your, excuse me, see how it fits within your world in a way that can offer opportunities for efficiency, which I know is obviously a big theme from earlier, right? But also creates, incredibly new opportunities in terms of making a lot more content. I have another good example, actually. There's a fantastic company out of the Ukraine, which we've worked with in the past, that has made a product basically that does almost like voice translation. They use a technology that's leveraging speech to speech. So the way that I'm talking could be, with all my inflections and everything, Mickey Mouse or Elmo or whatever, right? And they're using that same technology to basically take broadcasters for the Olympics and having real contextual feeds where the person that's watching is now getting commentary that's generated via AI, but it sounds like the broadcaster that they're used to and has the likeness of that broadcaster. Well, that was a very powerful and great use case by NBC, right? So these are some of the real-time examples where people are actually applying technology in a very, very unique and brilliant way in order to deliver real value, real context.
And on that point, I will just follow up with maybe the final question on the regulation side of it. And, at one point of whenever a year ago, it was like, oh, how are we going to put the genie back in the bottle? and try and create some boundaries here, particularly around intellectual property and, for content creators. So clearly the genie can't go back into the bottle. And it's going to be tough in different ways for the government, to create some of these boundaries, I think. How would you see that?
Oh, no. And I actually have a very, probably a controversial view as a person that loves technology. I think that was a real mistake, how a lot of these companies have invested and basically have thrown caution to the wind in order to train their models. So, being able to generate out an image from the likeness of others without their permission is wrong, right? There are groups like Getty Images, for example, has their own generative AI system, right, where they own and all the assets they've created. So their ability to do that is ethical and write. You know, where the industry is going is not going to be around these large language models. Those, again, are mistakes. My view is that to train on trillions of pieces of data, to train these giant systems to talk just to you is silly, right? You don't need that much data. Right? So where I believe it's going to go in the next few years, and actually where we've already started, is in something called a small language model, an SLM, where it's contextual, where the model is actually being trained only on a few data pieces. It has some original understanding, an original basis, but how it evolves and how it grows is specific to you. And that, I think, will be the future of that industry.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Well, Mike, we are so grateful for you taking the time to share that presentation and some of your perspective. I mean, you've got an incredible experience in the industry, helping build it from the past, present, and onto the future. So thank you so much for joining us. I certainly hope to see you in person at some point soon.
I hope so too. Elizabeth, thank you so much. It was a real pleasure being included, and your team is fantastic. Just so everyone knows, your team is fantastic.
Thank you. Well, we definitely appreciate those kudos. So thank you so much for joining us at today's Future of Video event series. That was a great conversation with Mike. We have our streaming video tracker. If you're not familiar with that service, we are tracking all of the North American streaming services and collecting an incredible amount of data, including estimated subscriber numbers, NPS, and churn. So if you're interested in a trial of that, please reach out to me or scan this QR code. We also have our upcoming different white papers that we are releasing, including the one that we've just published this week with JW Player. We're constantly trying to help educate the market, so please go and read those off our website. We're going to continue this conversation in October, talking about AVOD and the rise of ad-based services, and then we will be in person for our 7th annual Future of Video. We are also accepting speaker submissions. If you're interested in sharing your company's vision of the future of entertainment and video distribution, please go to our website or email one of us and tell us you'd be interested in speaking. We'll follow up with you, and we certainly hope you're able to join us in November. Also, we have all of our executive conferences. Parks Associates is a market research and consulting company. That is our core business, and we believe that by bringing the industry together in large groups, that we have the wisdom of the crowds, which is a book that my mom read a long time ago and is a strong believer in bringing everybody together. And when doing that, you have a greater result of what you've learned. So hopefully you can join us at one of our many upcoming industry events in person or virtually. Also, if you're interested in research, marketing, events, media, anything, we'd love to talk to you. Please feel free to reach out to Ashton, Jason, or Mindy Sue, or myself, any of our team members, so that we can help you. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in October, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.